Coach Danny Stiff, as we are each and every Wednesday night from 5:30 until 6:30. We are in the Bearcat Den here at Pasquale's Pizza. Coach, thanks for coming back into Bearcat Den, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Always good to come get pizza and pasta after practice on Wednesday.
Especially if I can get it before we get on the air.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, that's good.
Able to do that tonight. Folks, you got plenty of time to come down and join us. The buffet is in full swing here at Pasquale's Pizza, and they'll be here throughout the evening. We'll be here until 6:30 with the Bearcat Den. Got Cullman coaches, got players open for you, fans, cheerleaders, band members, anybody. Come on by and visit with us here in the Bearcat Den. Just kind of our way of looking back at last week and looking ahead to the upcoming game this week for the Bearcats as we travel over to Jasper to take on the Vikings. We'll talk more with Coach Stiff, and we'll bring in Mac Dumas and Miles Smith in a moment when we return here in the Bearcat Den, live from Pasquale's Pizza on Cullman's Live 95.
In today's world, broadband internet is an absolute necessity. Unfortunately, the large cable and phone companies only provide broadband internet where it's profitable for them. For the rest of us, there's Cyber Broadband. Providing internet service since 2004, Cyber utilizes a small radio antenna to deliver broadband where cable and DSL don't go. You can join the 21st century today with Cyber Broadband, supporting streaming, VPN access, and everything else you've been wanting to do with that slow internet connection. It's Cyber Broadband for the win. They can be found online at cyberbroadband.net or look them up on Facebook.
At Plus One Heating and Air, we believe in more than just fixing your HVAC system. Our team of skilled technicians is dedicated to providing top-notch service with a smile. Whether it's installation, repairs, or maintenance, you can trust Plus One Heating and Air to get the job done right the first time.
I've never experienced service like this before. Plus One Heating and Air not only fixed my heating system promptly, they also ensured everything was running smoothly. They truly care about their customers.
So when you're in need of heating and air services, remember the company that's willing to walk that extra mile for you. Plus One Heating and Air, where trust meets exceptional service.
You know, we have one of the coolest places right here in Cullman. It's Cleaning and More Cullman on County Road 437. Cleaning and More Cullman has reliable and professional residential and commercial cleaning services tailored to your needs. And I know because we use Cleaning and More Cullman at the Warhurst Team Realtors for our buyers and sellers. Cleaning and More Cullman is more than just cleaning supplies. They have janitorial supplies like trash can liners of all sizes, cleaning supplies, mops, brooms, paper towels, they have it all. Plus concession stand and restaurant supplies like cups, cutleries, plates, to-go containers, bags, straws, nacho trays, even popcorn bags. Cleaning and More Cullman has it all. Need climate control storage? How about 10 by 10, 10 by 15, and 10 by 20 units? And they even have the U-Haul trucks to carry your stuff. You can check them out at cleaningandmorecullman.com. You can get info at cleaningandmorecullman.com, or the way I like, you can dial them up at 256-736-9944. 256-736-9944. Cleaning and More Cullman, County Road 437, under the big white sign with the U-Hauls.
I don't know, they're contemporary. They're not like everybody else.
Live 95.5.
Welcome back into the Bearcat Den from Pasquale's Pizza here on Highway 31 in Cullman. I'm Tommy Warhurst alongside Cullman head coach Danny Stiff. We're out on the patio tonight, Coach. Temperature is good. Breeze is blowing. Good to be outside tonight.
A little bit chilly. Yeah, it feels good.
Welcome into the Bearcat Den. Defensive end Mac Dumas and offensive lineman Miles Smith. Gentlemen, thanks for stepping into Bearcat Den.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mac, I'll start with you, sir. Didn't get to see you in the Mortimer Jordan game in the home opener. You were able to make it back on the field last week. Talk a little bit about Athens last week.
Yes, sir. They had a big O-line, and it was exciting to get back out there. I just, being with my teammates I've worked hard with all offseason, it was really fun to get back out there with them.
Miles, same question to you, sir. Second home game in a row. Didn't turn out quite the way we wanted it to. Just reflect back a little bit about Athens.
I feel like we O-line mainly up front. O-line mainly up front didn't play the greatest. We didn't execute well. Same on both sides, in my opinion. And I feel like Preston, mostly our quarterback, he did a really good job though.
Coach, did they surprise you last week by not throwing the ball as much as they did? And in watching film myself before the game, I expected them to come out and throw the ball over the field and run it in short yardage. Yeah. And they came out and kind of got it in a run formation most of the night. Talk a little bit about the offense from Coach Gross.
You know, it's kind of like I told you last week. I didn't really think they were a passing team. You know, a lot of those pass plays they called the week before, were run plays that they pulled and threw the ball on, the RPO type plays. And I think I even told you off air, I didn't think their receivers were good enough to beat us in one-on-one coverage. So we played basically man-to-man, zero coverage all night. And we held up. They had one catch from a receiver, and it was on one of the scrambles. So we did a good job playing the cover standpoint and kind of where we could load up the box and do stuff like that. They were just really, really good up front. And these combination blocks, where they're working from one defensive lineman back up to the linebackers, they were about as good a team as I've played in high school football at combination blocking. They could get movement on you, and then they could get to your second-level players, and that's really difficult when you're playing in a game like that. So then you have to start blitzing to get people off those combination blocks quicker and to keep them more one-on-one blocks. And once you start blitzing and they run gap schemes, stuff like power and counter, you end up with two people in gaps. Sometimes it's more hit or miss, and you can get in some trouble that way. So I thought what they did was about what we thought they were going to do. I mean, from an offensive standpoint, I think the first drive they had a couple wrinkles. They came out in a 3-back set, which wasn't a big deal because we'd worked on that for Mortimer Jordan. They had a motion that added an extra gap to us that we finally adjusted to. It was fine on it. But it wasn't anything unexpected of what we saw. I thought they were a run team first. We talked about that the quarterback, when they did throw the ball, he's a great scrambler. And we got hurt in that regard. So I thought we held up on the coverage end. The passing yards all came to running backs. All right, so we're blitzing, and they're in these two running back sets. And, usually when we blitz, running backs stay in it and protect. But when they got two of them back there, one of them can come out and one of them can still protect. So we had a hard time IDing which guys had the running backs and, covering those guys out of the backfield. That was all of their passing yards. So then the running yards came, from just them being very good and beating us up front in the blocking schemes. And then up front, heck, I don't even know that defensive lineman came out of nowhere. The nose guard, number 99, never seen the guy before. And he comes out and plays a heck of a game against us. Yeah. So that was a little unexpected. I did think from an offensive line standpoint, it was probably our least dominant game. Even Bob Jones, I thought we had the run game was there. And that was one game that the run game is very hard for us. And it doesn't help being backed up in situations. We lost the field position battle early on, and we didn't really get it back. So all that kind of put together didn't spell a very good night,
And how much does that change your offense? Because I think twice, if I remember right, we started at our own 1 yard line on 2 different drives. Three times. So, how much does that change your play calling? Do you get a little bit conservative, not wanting to try to turn it over in your own territory deep?
It definitely does. And it puts more pressure on having to get first downs, because if you don't get out of there, we're just punting the ball right back to them at the midfield or better. So, it puts pressure on you to get those first downs. And usually, Coach Gleaton called a play-action pass on one of the first downs down in there. Ooh, I was sweating it. I'm like, I hope they take the cheese. I don't ever – Coach Gleaton's such a good coach. I never really question anything he calls. I'm sitting there thinking in my head, man, I hope this works. Yeah. And sure enough, I think we busted out a big play. We got about 20 yards on that and gave ourselves a cushion. So, it worked, but it's not the best place to be. And then even if you are going to score, you got to go 99 yards to get there. And against a good defense, it's a long way to go.
Yeah. Miles, talk about that perspective from an offensive line standpoint. You're backed up against your own goal line. Talk about the conversations and the motivation and the attitude there in the huddle that gets you guys knowing your back is against your own wall and you got to get it out of there.
My job is I'm trying to get the intensity up on the O-line. We were trying to protect Preston as much as we can on that play-action pass, like he said. It was in 2 minutes. I feel like we were more energetic in that 2 minute, and I feel like we moved the ball pretty well down. And,
It's such a momentum-based game that if you don't get positive things going, it kind of sucks the life out of you. And that's what, Miles is kind of talking about. And he's what the leader on the offensive line that's really got to get those guys going. And when you don't have enough positive things going, it's hard to keep that energy and keep that going, and it kind of sucks the life out of you. So we got to do a better job of creating our own energy and then creating momentum and having positive things happen. I think the best thing that happened probably in the whole first half was the goal line stand on the first drive of the game. So, we had some energy coming off that, but then we're backed up, and then we can't get a first down, and then we're back out on defense. And once you've been on a drive that long, kind of like I talked about last week, the flow of the game was such in our favor where when our defense would put them 3 and out and then put their defense back on the field. And we had the opposite effect in this game. So it wears you out on defense, and then on offense, you're cold and you can't get anything going because, you're 3 and out, and then you can't get out there and sustain drives.
Talk about that, Max, from a defensive standpoint. It's like you guys were on the field a lot last week, and I know you guys were wearing down. You never let it show. You never looked like you were dragging, never looked like you were tired, but I know you had to be because you were on the field a lot of the night.
I mean, we were just having to pull everything out, just dig deep, and that week I was out, that was really struggle. That goal line stand, I got really tired after that, and then they had one drive towards the end of the game. It was like correct me if I'm wrong, it was an 8-minute drive. Yeah. It gets tiring out there, and you just got to dig deep and fight through it.
Especially when they're playing with one hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Coach, you talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly each and every week. Give us the good, the bad, and the ugly on Athens.
There's a lot of bad and ugly. And like I told these kids Sunday, I was about as upset about that game, losing that game, as I could be. And I told them the first thing you got to do is kind of just, as a coach, is look inward and kind of what you can do better to improve those things. I felt like the speed of the game caught us. We didn't catch up to the speed of the game for a while. And I think, looking back as a coach, it kind of goes back to how we practice. We do a lot of stuff against the scouts so we can get reps, and offense can see what they need to see, and defense needs to see what they need to see. And this week I put a big emphasis, especially like yesterday's practice, which would have been our Wednesday practice, even though it was Tuesday because we were supposed to play tomorrow. It was all good on good, basically, besides one period of 15 minutes with the scouts, and then the rest of it was the other about 80-something plays we had in practice were all first team versus first team or first team versus second team, to increase the speed of the practice so that the speed of the game wouldn't catch us, where we had to wait to kind of catch up to that. So that's an adjustment that I made. And then I told all the kids to kind of look inward on what you've got to do better, what mistakes we're making and what we got to do. I think they care as much as I do, so that is always a starting point to me. If they didn't care about the loss as much as I did, it probably would have been a little bit rougher, but I could feel it from them. As much as it hurt me, it hurt them. So then everybody's got to look at themselves and figure out what we can do better and how to improve and move on, because playing a Thursday game, you got to rebound quick and you got to get over it. As much as it hurts, you got to get over it quick, and you got to move on to the next week. And we had to get rolling on Sunday with practice, so we started right away at it, really.
Yep. We'll put Athens behind us and look ahead toward Jasper, which was going to be tomorrow night, but due to the hurricane down in the Gulf of Mexico, that game's been pushed back to Friday. Maybe the weather will be out of here by Friday night. We'll talk more about Jasper coming up with Cullman head coach Danny Stiff, Mac Dumas, and Miles Smith. We're on Cullman's Live 95.5 in the Bearcat Den at Pasquale's Pizza. We're also live on the Cullman's Live 95 Facebook page as well. Thanks to all of you for joining us in Facebook land. Back in the Bearcat Den in a moment here on Cullman's Live 95.
So I'd been battling depression for quite a while, and I tried different medications, and it would get better, but then they would start to taper off. And I would fall back into those feelings of apathy, worthlessness, and not wanting to do anything. After TMS, I wake up every day energized and ready to take on the day.
We started Sound Mind TMS to provide treatments for depression and anxiety that really work. We'd love for you to come to the office for consultation to see if TMS may save your life.
Sound Mind TMS, 256-735-9475. Or for more information, you can visit our website, soundmindtms.com.
In the game of mortgages, experience matters. Meet Josh Phillips, a veteran with over 13 years in the mortgage industry. As a leader in the local mortgage community, Josh is more than just a lender. He's a partner who believes in making an impact. At Impact Mortgage Group, they're not just making mortgages, they're making a positive impact on borrowers and our community. You can experience the difference too with Josh Phillips at Impact Mortgage Group.
I'm Josh Phillips of Impact Mortgage Group. You can reach me at 256-338-2920, and I'll show you how my experience can help impact your next home purchase.
In MLS number 338177. Are you ready to make your next move in Cullman? Hi, I'm Tommy.
And I'm Angela. We're not just realtors, we're a family dedicated to helping yours.
We're not just about buying or selling property. We're about building connections within our community.
From local schools to charity events, We're active because we care about Cullman.
When you use us, you're not just getting one realtor, you're getting a team working around the clock for you.
With our experience and expertise, we'll guide you through every step of the process.
We're the Warhurst Team Realtors at Hagamore Realty Group.
We make it happen, you make it home.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Live 95.5.
Welcome back into the Bearcat Den at Pasquale's Pizza on Highway 31 here in Cullman. Tommy Warhurst alongside Cullman head coach Danny Stiff, Mac Dumas, and Miles Smith. We're live on Cullman's Live 95, also on the Cullman's Live 95's app on the on-air channel, and on Cullman's Live 95.5's Facebook page as well. Hello to all of you out there in Facebook, man. We took a quick recap of Athens last week. Time to spring forward and move ahead, Coach. It was going to be tomorrow night, but we get an extra day of preparation or rest or recovery before we have to travel back to Jasper. We were at Jasper last year for a non-region game. You had it on the schedule. You said this year as a non-region, boom, when it popped up to be a region game, we're traveling over there again.
Yeah, I think I actually like playing there. I don't mind it. Those old high school stadiums that kind of don't have the track around it.
Yeah,
it's a real like cozy environment almost. So I don't ever mind playing on the road. I kind of like being the person that everybody's kind of after. Besides the travel part of it, I really like playing on the road, and I really like Jasper Stadium. So, it rained last year, so I guess it's going to rain this year again. That's fine with me. One of the big things in this game was figuring out when we were going to play and what the weather was going to be like. There was even discussion about 4 o'clock on Saturday, which I was not for.
Yeah.
So, once the weather becomes a factor, it becomes more of a game management standpoint from me, as if how we've got to change what we do, or just the approach from a philosophy standpoint on how you want to attack the game and what they can do. My biggest concern with tomorrow night was going to be not really the rain or anything, was the wind.
Yeah.
I think 25-mile-an-hour sustained wind with 40-mile-an-hour gusts was going to be about the windiest game I've ever played in.
Yeah.
Which affects your throwing game tremendously and your kicking game. So that part of the wind's going to calm down now to 5-10 miles an hour, which, isn't a huge deal. So that part of the strategy for me, I don't have to worry about. And then if it's raining, if it's wet, you can still do most things on offense. Coach Campbell does a great job. We've got 1 million footballs. He keeps track of every single one of them, so he'll have us a dry football out there. So I don't worry about that from an offensive standpoint. Thursday, Friday, whenever it was going to be, I'm pretty fired up for this game. So.
But like I said, originally the game was going to be tomorrow night. Now it's Friday night at 7 o'clock. How does that change your week? Now what are you guys going to have in store for tomorrow?
So I found out about 5 minutes before we went to practice today. Okay. So I kept practice the exact same today. It was like a Thursday practice. Mm-hmm. So it's in helmets. It's a lot of just refreshers when we work on hands, team onside kick. All the finishing stuff for a game, the special situations. Offense works on, Hail Marys, all that kind of stuff. Hail Mary before a half. When you're too far away from the end zone and you got a last play, there's all kinds of different scenarios. We do the same things on defense. So we did all that today, and that's why I got here early and got to eat some pizza. So that's why my belly's full right now, which usually I'm starving by the time we're doing this. But it was so tomorrow. Like I said, yesterday was more about the speed of the game and getting back to playing fast and having fast looks. And tomorrow we'll do a little more of that. We'll go out in shells. We'll be back an hour or so, and we'll get some real speed, high intensity reps, and then call it a day and then get ready to play on Friday. So it doesn't really affect how much we do. It gives me another day of preparation, which I don't know how they feel about it, but it always makes me feel more comfortable. I could take 2 weeks to prepare for everybody and I'd be fine. So I don't worry about that. I just worried about being Saturday affecting it just changed in the next week and the next week. So I'm glad it's on Friday night. I got no problem with it.
Miles, we pulled one out over there last year in the rain, 15-13. Jasper is going to be hungry to get back in the winning side. The whole series is almost even. I looked it up. 36 wins for Jasper, 37 losses, and 2 ties. So we hold the edge on them by 1. So they're going to be looking to even everything over overall. Talk about what you've seen from a defensive side of Jasper on film this week that you guys offensively think that we can take advantage of.
Jasper's pretty good. I mean, defensively, their D-line's probably their best part of their team. They got a good guy, number 11, DN. He's pretty good. 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 He's I feel like we can run the ball on them, though, mostly. I mean, it's going to probably rain. It might. So running the ball game is going to be the best point of our game.
We're going to have to.
We're going to have to.
maybe an old school 6-3 or 9-6 game, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as we're on top, I'll take 2-0, whatever it takes.
Mac, kind of same question to you, sir. From a defensive perspective, what are you going to be looking for Jasper to try to throw at us?
They got a good set of running backs. Lots of reads. Their quarterback's large, hard to get down. He's bigger than all of our defense, pretty much. He's 6'4", 225, large guy. And then they got a backup quarterback, coach's son, right?
Yep.
Smart kid, really fast. And then those running backs, they're insane. Number 3, he's quick, hard to get down. He's a big kid too. So
they won the first 2 games of the season, 48-7, 48-28. Not the same kind of opponents that they'll see in us, of course, but most impressive to me, Coach, was last week knocking off Decatur 55-7. I know you've watched that game. Talk about the offense from Jasper and how they were able to manhandle Decatur.
It starts with them and their skill players. Their running backs are deep and good. I mean, they've really got 3 of them, 2 of them that play a lot. Number 3 and number 8. I think number 8's a freshman. Number 3's a junior. So these are guys we'll be seeing again. But they have a special skill set. They have great vision, extremely explosive, and very strong. So that combination is pretty tough at running back to play. We got to be real solid with our gaps, where we're going to be. No busted assignments, because if you give them a crease or a place to go, they're going to find it and exploit it. And then, like I talked about last week, one of the problems was covering the backside of the backfield. So that's something we got to do a good job of, is making sure when those guys go out on pass routes that, we've got somebody on them and in close proximity, so they don't have a lot of space to work with once they catch the ball. Receivers are probably a pretty good group, honestly, compared to what, I would say they're a little notch above Athens guys from a speed and overall athleticism standpoint at receiver. So the combination of that, I mean, it really falls on how good is their offensive line, which I don't know, because I don't think they've played a good defensive line yet. I don't know if they're bad. I don't know if they're good. So kind of see how they come out the offensive line. And if we can win that matchup there, then we'll be able to get after the quarterback where they can't get the ball to the receivers, and we'll be able to get in the backfield in the run game before those guys really get going and can hit gaps full speed. So that's kind of the game plan, is to wrangle them. And like I said, the worse the rain is, if it rains, if it doesn't, it probably does affect them in the throwing game. So they're just going to lean more on those guys in the run game, which is what they probably want to do anyway. So we've got to do a good job of keeping them corralled and not let them get out and get big plays.
Mac, from a defensive perspective, sir, talk about some of your teammates after watching film and studying. Who do you expect on your defense to shine Friday night?
I mean, Ben Conway, obviously. I mean, we call him Coach Conway. He knows everything pretty much. He knows the defense better than some of our coaches. He's everywhere. J.C. Patterson, he's a big athletic kid. He's going to make plays. He just does that. And then Jackson Stallings, he's always in the back end saving our tail if we have a busted play. So he's going to help out a lot too.
Yeah.
Miles, kind of same question to you, sir. I know you've watched the defense of Jasper on film a lot. We've talked about the weather may play a big part, maybe a big running game. Cooper may be running all over the field Friday night. But talk about who you expect to have a standout night Friday night.
I'm thinking Cooper as well. 2 weeks ago, MJ, he had 200-something rushing yards on him. When we ran the ball down their throat. So, I feel like it's going to happen again. And probably Rex, Chandler as well. He's second running back coming in, and he can run really hard too. So.
We're in the Bearcat Den at Pasquale's Pizza on Highway 31, live on Cullman's Live 95 and on Cullman's Live 95's Facebook page as well. We'll continue talking about Jasper and more coming back here in the Bearcat Den with Coach Danny Stiff, Miles Smith, and Max Dumas here in the Bearcat Den live in Pasquale's Pizza on Cullman's Live 95.
In 1952, 7 men at an aluminum plant banded together and started Lister Hill Credit Union with only $5 each. Today, more than 92,000 have joined us, continuing the legacy of supporting themselves and the community through Lister Hill. It's all about we and what we can do together.
Switch Switching is easy. We do it all the time. We switch on the lights. We switch TV channels. Some of us switch partners while square dancing. Well, that's a stretch. But what's not a stretch is how you can switch and save with State Farm. In fact, State Farm agent Tisha Brewer right here in Cullman could switch you over and you could start saving today. Tisha and her team are ready to welcome you to the State Farm neighborhood. With Tisha Brewer, it's easy to switch and save.
I'm Tisha at Tisha Brewer State Farm. We're located behind Cook's Pest Control at 909 Fisher Street. You can reach us at 256-734-4645. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Cullman Electric Cooperative's mission is to make life better in the communities we serve. That starts by providing reliable, affordable electricity, while our Sprout Fiber Internet service delivers blazing fast broadband internet to homes, schools, and businesses. Cullman Electric Cooperative is a proud supporter of student athletes, cheerleaders, and band members who work hard every day to make their families and community proud. Cullman Electric Cooperative and Sprout Fiber Internet, powerful connections, brighter future.
Cullman's Live 95.
Live. 95.5.
Welcome back into the Bearcat Den, live from Pasquale's Pizza, Highway 31 here to Cullman on Cullman's Live 95 and on Cullman's Live 95's Facebook page as well. Hello to all of you out there in video land. I'm Tommy Warhurst alongside Cullman head coach Danny Stiff, offensive lineman Miles Smith, and defensive end Mac Dumas. We're talking Bearcats and Vikings Friday night. This game was scheduled for tomorrow night, but due to the hurricane in the Gulf, has been moved to Friday night at 7 o'clock. Coach, what's it going to take for us to get out of Jasper with a win Friday night?
It goes back to about every single week. I'm going to tell you, if we can dominate the line of scrimmage on offensive, defensive line, we've always got a chance. That's the first thing you got to do every game. It's the reason we struggled a lot in last week's game. And if we can dominate up front, and, they bring a lot of blitzes on defense, a lot of different blitzes. So if we can get them blocked up, or two guys in the same gap, like I said, that happened to us some last week, you can get big plays in the run game, and especially if the weather's a factor. You've got to be able to run the ball, and you've got to be able to stop the run. That's going to be a staple. I'll say that probably every week you ever ask me that question for a high school football game, but it's true, and it's never going to change. And it's why it's important, having a D lineman and an O lineman up here. It's why it's important to have the right guys at that position that can handle that, because it's going to always start there. And if we can do that, we're going to be in good shape. If we can't, then they're going to have a good night.
Cullman, Jasper has always been a big rivalry game. Miles, talk about making your last trip. You are a senior, correct? Okay, I thought so. Yeah, talk about making your last trip to Jasper, wanting to get out of there with a W.
Well, after hearing what Coach Gleason says in film, it's not Jasper for him. It's
Walker
County.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be a big game. He really wants us to go out there and win. And like Coach Stiff said, it's gonna be up to us to set the tone. I mean, both sides of the ball. So.
Yep. Mac, talk about setting that tone defensively early.
I mean, we're just going to have to get stops, get the ball back to our offense. We got to do a great job on that. I'd say, it's going to be chippy, too, because, we have, such a deep tradition of rivalry with them, and that's...
Well, especially Coach Hopper being back now.
Oh, yeah.
Coach Hopper's back. That thing was on CNN years ago. Yeah. So, it's definitely personal for him, I'm sure, when he goes over there. I think it happened over there is when that whole incident went down, too. So, there's been a lot of bad blood. It's been a rivalry forever. So that's, it kind of makes it more fun, to be honest with you. Yeah. All the history of it all. And I think it means a lot to everybody around here, too.
I remember Coach Perry Swindle telling us back in the day years ago at Aniana, he said football is controlled war.
Yeah.
What happens between the whistles is as close to war as you can possibly get, just about.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. It takes a different kind of person to go out there and sacrifice their body in that kind of way, and do it for 65, 70 plays a game. It really does. The sport's not for everybody, and I think that's kind of what's always drawn me to football. And really, the people is what drew me back into coaching. I missed the locker room way more than I missed playing.
Yeah.
And it's when you go through that grind and that kind of physical, just abuse with each other, it brings you closer together, and there's really nothing like it.
We're in the Bearcat Den, live on Cullman's Live 95, WRJM LP, Cullman, Alabama. Tommy Warhurst alongside Cullman head coach Danny Stiff, Miles Smith, and Mac Dumas. Mac, talk about it from your perspective, sir, heading back over there one more time.
Last year I was on a lot of special teams, so it was pretty fun in that game. Being a part of those 2 punt blocks and scoring on that was really fun. I'm ready to go back over there. What Coach Stiff said earlier, that field feels pretty comfy.
Yeah.
I like it too. It feels pretty close in, and like not a lot's going on. It's not very big and intimidating. So I'm ready to get back over there and play those guys one more time. So.
Being that it is a cozy environment, talk about how you need the folks from Cullman and our fan base here to make the short drive to Jasper, Miles.
We need a big crowd. We need people cheering us on. I mean, I feel like the past few games, we haven't had a lot of people cheering on in the crowd. I mean, I don't hear a lot of screaming. I mean, I'm kind of on the sideline, raising my hand out trying to get them to yell. But, it's going to be a big game. And I'm going to go out there and have fun and go win. And so.
And I think every player that we've had up here has talked about how much the crowd means to them.
Yeah.
Independently, every single senior we've had up here talks about how much it means to them and how much it can affect just the energy and everything on the sidelines too, and especially at a place like Jasper where they're going to be 5 feet from us.
Yeah.
So it really has an impact on us. There's no track or anything in between, so their impact can mean even more, honestly.
Mac, talk about the importance, like Coach Stiff said, of us taking a big fan base over there.
I mean, energy wins games. So, you see, in, smaller places like that, like Jordan Hare and Auburn, and then their basketball gym, too. It's, right on top of you. Everything's on top of you. And sometimes that just, wins the game for you in general because the other team's just so intimidated. And I really feel like if we can get a good crowd over there, it can shock some people, so.
Maybe we will. Cullman fans, you have heard the plea from the players and coaches. We need you in the seats at Jasper on Friday night, loud and a little bit obnoxious. You can be a little bit obnoxious over there as a fan,
sure.
But cheer your team on because they're going to need it as they travel to Jasper Friday night to take on the Vikings. We'll continue and wrap up this week's edition of the Bearcat Den here from Pasquale's Pizza when we come back here live on Cullman's Live 95 and on Cullman's Live 95's Facebook page. It is the Bearcat Den.
Hey, Cullman drivers. Are you tired of the hassle and confusion when it comes to buying a car? Well, we've got fantastic news for you. Meet Adam Aker at Mitch Smith Chevrolet in Cullman, your go-to guy for a no-nonsense car buying experience.
Hey, folks. Adam here. Buying a car shouldn't be stressful. That's why at Mitch Smith Chevrolet, we pride ourselves on transparency, trust, and there's never any BS at MS.
That's right. Adam Aker and the Mitch Smith Chevrolet team are changing the game.
I live and breathe Cullman, just like you. So when you step into our showroom, you're not just another customer, you're family. Together, we'll find the perfect vehicle to fit your needs and budget. Remember, Adam Aker, Mitch Smith Chevrolet, what's not to love?
Live 95 is brought to you in part by Merchants Bank of Alabama, a division of South Point, now with several locations across the state, but still located in the heart of Cullman County. They are a proud sponsor of Cullman Community Radio on Live 95. Merchants Bank of Alabama, a division of South Point Bank, member FDIC.
Need to be seen? Go Tees Screen Printing and Embroidery can get your name and logo seen all over town. Whether it's hats, shirts, jackets, or hoodies, Go Tees Screen Printing and Embroidery can hook you up. They also have promotional items like pins, cups, koozies, bags, and more. Does your club, team, or school need a fundraiser? Go Tees Screen Printing and Embroidery can set up an online store for you. From concept to completion, Go Tees can take care of all your promotional needs. Go Tees Screen Printing and Embroidery. For more information, you can visit www.shopgotees.com. That's GOOTEES. Go Tees Screen Printing and Embroidery. Cullman's Live 95.
Whoa, Black Betty, family.
That's awesome.
Welcome back into the Bearcat Den at Pasquale's Pizza, Highway 31 here in Cullman. I'm Tommy Warhurst on Cullman's Live 95.5 FM, on Cullman's Live 95.5's app, and on the Facebook page as well. Hello of you watching us on Facebook. We're going to upload this to the Cullman's Live 95's YouTube channel a little bit later on tonight. You can go back and watch it again on Facebook or watch it there on our YouTube channel as well. I'm joined by Cullman head coach Danny Stiff, Miles Smith, and Mac Dumas. Coach, something we haven't talked a lot about is strategy, the planning from a coaching perspective going into a ball game. Talk a little bit about the strategizing from everything from the coin toss to the victory formation.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, and I guess the longer you're in this coaching world, the more you kind of get around some great coaches. I was lucky enough to be around Coach Saban in 2017. And analytics were really coming along. There was a lot of analytics stuff coming. And, he had actually quoted Coach Belichick one time and said, there's 1,000 things Tom Brady can do that analytics can't tell me. He goes, but there were some really interesting things that came out of analytics. And a lot of people don't know about this thing. It's called the middle eight of the football game. So it's the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half. And it's one of the biggest swings in a game. And if you think about it, it makes sense, because you can score right before halftime, and if you're getting the ball and you score after halftime, it's been a 14-point swing, and their offense hasn't touched the field. So, they determined that if you can win the middle eight of a football game, I think you have a 92 or 93% chance of winning a football game. And, Coach Saban, didn't believe it, actually, at first. And he made somebody, I don't know who it was, they had to go research every game he's ever coached in and find the middle eight plays, tell him the score, and then tell him his record. His record was actually 96 or 97% when they won the middle eight of the football game. So that obviously goes into a coin toss. I told Conway, who usually speaks for me as the captain, I told him we always defer. Excuse me, because I want that ball in the second half. Right. I want to be able to control the ball before halftime and then get the ball back in the second half. The only time I haven't done that was the Mortimer Jordan game, because I felt like we were very, very confident on offense. And I always asked Coach Gleaton, I'm like, hey, can we score the first drive of the game? Because that's about the only thing that negates the whole middle eight thing. And he always says yes, all right? But I can gauge by his enthusiasm in the yes. And that was the one game I was like, okay. And we actually were close. I think we fumbled driving the ball in that game, where we were going to score. But then I got nervous after that because I knew I'd shot the advantage in the game. So I try always to defer, because then I want to control the ball before halftime. It's one reason probably I should have used one more timeout right there before half last week. When there's about 10 seconds left, we spiked the ball. It was really about 8 seconds left when we spiked the ball. They gave us 6. But then we only had time for one play, and I thought we would have time for 2 plays. So I was trying to – you kind of got to wait to be aggressive there before the half, cross the 50. The main thing is we talk about 2-minute drill, and we worked a ton of them from the spring to the summer. Just about every day we worked some type of 2-minute drill. And 85% of your 2-minute drills actually occur in the first half instead of the second half, which people don't realize. So there's a lot of strategy that goes into that. And most of it relies on the quarterback. For instance, if it's 3rd and long in a second half 2-minute drill, you want to throw the ball away, not take a sack, because, you got to go for it on 4th down. Well, if it's the first half of a 2-minute drill and you're in the first half, then he wants to take that sack on 3rd down, because now they have to burn a timeout and we're still punting the ball to them. And if they don't have a timeout, then the clock's just going to run. And we're going to give them the ball back with 40 seconds less than what they would get it back with. So there's a lot of strategy that goes into that. There's a lot of prep that goes into the players. They don't usually know the difference between the 2-minute drills. The quarterback's got to, though, because he's got to know to control the game. Now, so when you're in the first half, you're trying to not give them the ball back, and then you get aggressive when the time starts to get running down and you get close to scoring. You get pretty aggressive, and then you're trying to score and then double up and come out of the half and score. So that's always something first and foremost in my mind. And then, from a strategy standpoint, in a game like this week where the weather's a factor, wind was a huge thing for me. So I was very concerned about the wind in the passing game and the kicking game. One of the first things I do when I go out in the field, I look for the flags and I see which way they're blowing, and I make sure that if we get a chance to decide what side we're kicking to, or you really want the weather in the second quarter and in the fourth quarter to kind of control, and then and be ready for the first and the third quarter to kind of mitigate whatever their advantage is there. So rain's also a factor. We take some snaps under center. If it's raining, pouring down rain, I always worry about Bearcats enough taking snaps, because we don't take a lot of snaps under center. So you ask them to do that, then you ask them to do it with a wet ball, and it's a different story. Yeah. Ball security's got to be a huge issue. And then, you kind of got to know what their game plans are going to be. You know these teams, and you kind of know what the rain's going to do to them and how it's going to affect them. You can't blitz as much in the rain. It's an advantage on the offense. If you got a quarterback that can throw the ball, you can actually throw better in the rain because the DBs don't know where receivers are breaking. I remember Tom Brady one time threw about 50 passes in the rain because he knew where the receivers were going, and the DBs don't. So that's a huge advantage in the weather like that. So all of that goes into my thinking all week. I'm always consulting with the other coaches. On game day, I go out, and one of the first things I'll talk to our special teams coordinator, Coach Espen, about will be like the wind direction and what the wind, how it affects our kicking game. So there's a lot that goes into that these guys probably don't even know that I'm constantly thinking about. And then the game planning and the strategy, that starts for me Saturday morning, where we're trying to nail down. I start watching College Game Day, and I start working on the other opponent. And then, watch as much, running the defense this year. I usually start with the offense, and then I'll get into, once I get a comfortable base game plan, I'll start watching their defense, and then kind of talking to Coach Gleaton about that. We sat down Sunday night, I think, for a couple hours and watched their defense and kind of just spitball back and forth on some things. So there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of work that, these coaches do that goes into the week in preparation, and then it all gets condensed down to something pretty easy, simple, and that's a straight. We take something complicated and then we try to put it into a few rules for these guys to, hey, you do this and you do that. This is different for you this week. This is different for you. It might be 20 things different, but it's one or two things different for each player on how we got to play something. And then it kind of condenses down to where it's digestible to them and it's overall what we want to be doing. So
I had a thought that just went away from me. Miles, going to ask you, sir, to kind of expand on what. Oh no, I know what I was going to ask you to. First, I want to get you to expand on the strategizing. Do you guys know any of that? Having any of that in your mind as the game's going on, of why we're doing what we're doing behind the scenes, sort of?
No, not really. I feel like Coach really deals with that. I feel like on coin toss, I kind of like having offense first, in my opinion. I like going out there and setting the tone. I really do. Like Mojo, I feel like we really had a really good start.
Yeah.
That fumble really killed us right there. I mean, I like having the ball first.
And Mac, from a defensive perspective, you probably want to be on defense first and shut them down and put your offense out there.
Oh, of course, and I want to put our offense in good field positioning too. That's also great, giving them an opportunity to score. I just want to set the tone for the game. It starts on kickoff anyway, so it really doesn't. If you can get a good break right there, that's great. And then, when we went to Bob Jones too, there was something happened with the kid. He got ejected on the first on the opening kickoff. So that set the tone for the rest of the game too. There's a little chatter going on during the game too. So,
Coach, you mentioned all the game preparation stuff. A lot of folks see practices in the afternoon. They see coaches on the field on Friday night. But take a moment and talk about your staff. Because they do. You guys put in the hours in preparation for each and every game, each and every week, and that's a lot of dedication for those guys doing something that they love that takes them away from their families and their kids. Just brag on your coaches.
Yeah, and I remember the first meeting I had with the assistant coaches. Right after I'd gone to the board meeting, took the job, I told them just straight up, I will never be able to pay you your value. It's just not possible for all the work that they do. And there's so much that goes into it. Like I said, just from Coach Campbell's standpoint of managing, the way he takes care of those footballs, it's like it's his children, He knows when one's missing. He knows exactly the name of it, whatever. There's just so many elements that go into game preparation and then a game week, from drawing the scout cards to every single thing that, kind of is streamlined by the time we get out there on the practice field. It takes hours and hours and hours and hours of work. And then it takes hours of preparation just watching film to even get to the point where before you can even draw those cards, to know kind of what they're going to do and what we need to do, what we have kind of in our toolbox that we can pull out this week to stop what they do. And then you've got to anticipate, this is the hardest part, and probably the one you really lose sleep over, is then anticipate what else they're going to do that they haven't shown or what they could do. I remember this week I was going back, because their offensive coordinator at Jasper is Mortimer Jordan's offensive coordinator from last year. So a couple of days ago, I went back and started watching Mortimer Jordan film from last year, and then saw what they did to us defensively, and then what they did in the game defensively, and then kind of take that and apply it to this week's game plan as well. So, it takes a lot. Sometimes it goes years and years back. I mean, you can go. I remember at Alabama, we would go back, I think, it was either 12 or 13 years on trick plays.
Wow.
So that's how deep we would go into the trick play, because, people can pull them out of nowhere. So we wanted to know everything that they'd ever ran from a trick play standpoint. And we would track the coach. If it was an offensive coordinator and the head coach, we would track them, basically from their roots of coaching. that's how deep it would go, like as far back as we could find film on. So there's a lot that goes into it. And then there's, the early mornings that they have in preparation where we're watching film and we're lifting. To watch, we don't ever really have a practice where we don't watch before we practice again. We watch film. I think this week was the first time ever we had done that. We practiced Monday morning after a Sunday afternoon practice. It's the first time we'd ever gone to practice without watching the film from yesterday's practice, and that takes a good at least hour or so.
Yeah.
And then you have specialty stuff like Bearcats and our Rebels package that has defensive players involved on offense. So then we got to make time to get the defensive players where they can meet with the offense, and we have that every week. And on top of that, you've got special teams that you've got to do. So we've got to have time to meet for special teams and work on that and strategize for that. And then because you got guys on offense and defense there. So, the good thing is once you get into a season, the schedule usually gets pretty set. You get in kind of a routine until stuff gets blown up like a week like this week or something. Yeah. And you get in those routines and you get comfortable doing it and you're just used to it. But it takes a lot for the coaches to do that. It's really not for everybody. Like I said, you could never pay them enough for what they do. The little amount we can give them is not near the value that they create for everything. And I couldn't do anything I do without the coaches. And then there's people like Aaron Tidwell that are worried about the meals and the buses and everything to let me do football. And she does all that stuff, and she does a great job with that, and handles almost everything externally for me. And I'd be stuck half the week doing that stuff. I think this whole game getting moved and all that, I probably spent a total of 5 minutes actually like having to worry about that. And then, her, Mark Stevens, Miss Tuggle, even Mr. Coloff were kind of taking care of that. And I said, only thing I told him, I don't want to play on Saturday.
Yeah.
And y'all figure out the rest and let me know when you do. Because there was a big thing with the Jasper having the City Festival Friday night. So there was a whole dynamic there that I'm just like, y'all tell me and we'll play, just as long as it's not on Saturday at 4 p.m.
Yeah.
So there's so many moving parts that go into this thing, and there's so many people that do a great job at their individual roles, and the whole thing doesn't fire off without everybody on full cylinders and kind of in that routine, in that game mode. And you do miss your families. Like, this has been a hard week because usually Saturday I get to stay home and work. This Saturday was more like a Sunday for me, so I go in the office to work because I can get a little more done when I'm not at home. There's a little less like, Daddy, come do this, and I'm gonna get up and do it. You know what I mean? And then go back to work. But I couldn't have that Saturday, so I kind of had to go to the office more. And then Sunday I was probably in at 6 a.m. Getting ready to go because we had practice, and then we had the guys coming in to kind of review Athens, and we had a bunch to do. So weeks that are accelerated like that take even longer and take more from you. So it's good when you get time with your family, but they know it's football season. They've been used to me doing this for years. They probably appreciate the off season more than the season, but it's good to be able to have a wife also. It's the spouses take so much of the burden during the season. I mean, you can't thank all the coaches' wives enough for what they do, and the extra burden they take just in the household and with the kids, and what they go through during the season. It takes a special person to not only be a coach, but to be a coach's wife as well. I don't think people quite fully appreciate what all goes into it. But I know if one people do, it's the wives and the families, because they totally understand. And I think, we've got a great group of moms and wives that are with our guys, too, that kind of help all that.
Yeah. Big region game at Jasper. Mac and Miles, final thoughts on Jasper Friday night.
I'm just ready to go out there and play. That 1 week I got off, that really messed me up. I wanted to be out there with my guys so much that I've worked so hard with. And I'm just ready to go out there and end this rivalry with them. And I just want to be with my guys, yeah.
Yeah, now just to clear, Mac was supposed to be out for the season with this thing. And he was basically had the mindset of, I'll do anything, to be back out on the field. So it's special when you have guys like that. And, his family, too, was they tried to just work away and find somebody that would do. I mean, you basically had surgery, and then you're out for a week, and they came back.
Yeah.
So it takes a different kind of person to play football, and especially to do something like this. So I just wanted to give him credit for that.
Yeah. A lot of dedication and heart right there for sure.
I want to thank Dr. Doolin, too. He did an amazing job in working me in and helping me out. He had to help me with my club, too. My thumb was getting my circulation was getting cut off of that, too. So that was a struggle, too. But we got it worked out.
Yeah. Miles?
Just ready to go out there and dominate. I'm really ready for number 11. That's my opinion. I'm ready to go out there and just show him what's up. I mean, we've been working on him a lot this week. I've been watching a lot of film on him. A lot of blitzes coming my way. Their past 2 games, they've had 54 blitzes, and so I've been watching all of them. I'm ready. And
yep.
So.
Well, gentlemen, I ran off and left our Live 95 shirts courtesy of Goatee Screen Printing in the other truck, so I'll have you guys shirts next week here courtesy of Goatee Spring Printing and Cullman's Live 95 for getting in the Bearcat Den. Coach, your final thoughts on Jasper?
They're a good football team. I think they're one of the more improved teams I've seen from one year to the next. They struggled a lot last year, but Coach Reeves is a great football coach. He's a great person, too. I really just like him as a person. So, and then they hired some good coaches on his staff this year that I had a lot of respect for. So, a team like that, it's a challenge to play. But it's like I said earlier, I've said on the weeks prior, I like these kind of games. I like when you got to bring your A game to beat somebody. And especially when it's a rivalry game, it just makes it that much more fun. So, can't wait.
Coach, thanks for coming to the Bearcat Den. Mac and Miles, gentlemen, thank you for coming by, and best of luck on Friday night.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
7 o'clock Friday night at Jasper, Bearcats and Vikings in a region game. We've been in the Bearcat Den, as we are each and every Wednesday night here from Pasquale's Pizza. If you missed any of today's show, you can watch it back on our Facebook Live feed, or you can watch it later on Cullman's Live 95.5's YouTube page. For Miles Smith, Mac Dumas, and head coach Danny Stiff, I'm Tommy Warhurst saying so long, and thanks for being in the Bearcat Den. We'll catch you all back here next Wednesday night, and we'll see you in Jasper Friday night.